Hello, everyone. This is Stacy. Welcome to The Landing. Hello, and welcome back to The Landing. We have a wonderful guest today with us, and I'm excited to hear what he has to share. We have Mr. Jimmy Amspacher, and many of you know him as Karen's better half. But we're going to get to know him a little bit today, and I can't wait to hear what he has come prepared to share with us. But before we get started, and before we jump into all of the goodness that you've brought with you, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Where are you from? Where do you live? And all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's a loaded question. First of all, I was born in Wilson, North Carolina. My mother's father, and I reckon I don't know how many generations, lived on Hatteras. And my daddy was a Methodist minister, and they met in, after the Second World War. He was an Amishman. And here I am, and we finally moved back to Atlantic, and that was in 1959, and I've not left. I have been off a few times. I went to school at NC State. I was a professional musician with the Huckleberry Mudflap, and I have lived down east, and I plan to die down east. And other than that, that's about it. I'm just an old boy that loves what I love.
That loves what you love, and I love a lot of the same things too. Now, you live in Marshallburg now, is that correct?
Yes.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to be talking about Atlantic High School. And if you will, think back about some times that you had there. And it's my understanding that you started Atlantic High School as a freshman.
Yep.
Okay. What can you remember? Where do you want to start?
Day one.
Day
one. No, it was, first of all, let me go back. I came out of a military school. Mm-hmm. And when you moved to Atlantic, that was totally 180 from what I had been in the last years of my, or early years.
Because military school, very structured, very rigid, very, yes. And that's an understatement.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and they were in Tennessee. And you had to go through the proving yourself. You had to be welcomed. You had to earn your way in to be from down east.
Right, because you weren't from here.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
But crowd from Hatteras, and you know just as well as I do, when you start doing this, if you sit back far enough, everybody's kin. And I used to hear that, well, who's your people, who's this, who, and I don't know. I knew what I had been told from Hatteras and this way, But,
right.
Well, we moved to Atlantic, and it was right, I think it was in June. I'm not mistaken. And the first thing I did was, I'd goofed around, and there was a bunch of people, because I lived right in front of the schoolhouse.
Okay.
We're getting away from that. And Mama was teaching at Smyrna.
Okay.
So I caught it both ways. Mm-hmm. And you couldn't do anything that wasn't told or didn't meet you when you walked in the back door. I mean, everybody knew before you did.
Oh, yeah.
What was going on. So it was a lot of getting them to know me and me to know them, and just learning to live in that environment, which I wouldn't trade nothing for it. And so, like I say, it was when I walked in the class the first day, it was, well, I'd already been to about 10 or 15 fights before I ever got to school, but that was just the welcoming committee
That's
to
what I was
down
trying
here.
to say. Had to break you in.
Yeah, and I broke some of them in. They didn't like it, but that's the way it went. And but it all worked out for the best. And then when I got in school, and the teachers, and I'm sitting here trying to think. Mr. Moore, if I'm not badly mistaken, was our freshman homeroom, ninth grade. And Mr. Moore was a preacher from Davis Shore. And he was just as slow and just as methodical. I mean, he just went through the paces. And nobody got in a hurry. There wasn't no need of it. Where were you going? And we took it and went with that. And I knew that I had already had a lot of the stuff, but not the way it was really meant to be, if you understand what I'm trying to say. But anyway, it was fine. It took me the longest time to get used to get up and not put a uniform on or something of this nature. It was
Right, because that's
it was a lot stricter, and everything was laid out on the hour, on the minute. There, you walk across the road, go to Fish House, go to Winston's, go to D's, watch the ferry come in. Whatever you wanted to do.
totally opposite.
Yeah, you were totally to the world, and I wouldn't have traded nothing for it. The more I think about it, living off was an experience. I met a lot of people. I learned a lot of things, but I didn't grow up till I moved to Atlantic.
Wow.
And that's where I became a man.
And why do you say that? I know why you say that. I think because I understand, but why do you mean?
Well, I mean, you were just somebody else. I was 04 in the company. I was recruit company commander. I was this, whatever. And when I got there, I was nobody. I was Jimmy. And whatever else they called me, which was a plenty. Right. But it was, you had to pull your weight. And I learned that real quick. Right. And
it was expected. It wasn't asked.
Oh, no.
It was expected.
Lord, my God, no. Don't shoot.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and say, well, I'm going so-and-so, and the run boat's coming in. You better have your butt down there to Billy's or Clayton's and work. Right. And I had the Mr. Clayton, old Mr. Clayton, he took a liking to me, and I thought the world of him, and Harry and Clayton Jr., and I grew up with Clay. Linda Gale was in our class, and we graduated together, and it was just, after about 6 or 7 months, it came to be that you could see where I couldn't see it then, but now I can see it. I was one of them.
Right.
And that means more to me than anything else besides my young wife that I've got.
Well, that's a huge compliment. They welcomed you. You're part of them.
That's right, but you had to prove yourself.
Well, and prove that you were worth.
That's right, and and now you want to know about stories. Well,
yeah, I've got a few here, so let's see what you come up with.
I can remember. I don't know what year it was. I'll run them all together. It's probably the easiest way to do it. 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade.
Okay.
I was a total terror to start off with. There wasn't nothing I wouldn't try or do. And I mean that in a good way. I mean, we weren't into things like kids are in today. We'd been killed if we had been. And what I can remember, it was Jack Johnson was the principal, and Dolores Rose was the secretary. And sometimes when the boats would go out, they catch a load of toads. Okay. Well, they come on the internet. Everybody get ready. The boats are coming in.
Over the intercom at school?
Yes. So all you boys get ready. Come on down. We're gonna skin out toads tonight. Oh yeah. I mean, it was.
Oh, wow.
It was that way, and there would be 300, 400, 500 boxes off them boats because they had to get them off the boats to go back to go shrimping. And it was the same way if somebody caught a lot of shrimp. Somebody come to the dock. We need 6, 7 head down there, and they'd call you by name. And it was 9 times out of 10 I was in it.
Oh, wow.
And we would go down there and work, and you didn't make no money, but we had money. It was proud money.
Right, right. Let me ask you about Percy.
Oh my God.
Well, who's Percy?
We had if you've ever been to Atlantic to the school, right across the road from the house was a bunch of old big pine trees where the gym was at. And one day there was a bunch of us sitting out there. We were swinging. We were sitting there in the swing and listening to the radio. And I looked, and there was a little fuzzball about 4 or 5 inches long with a little tail on it. And I went over there and picked that thing up, and it like to eat me up. So I finally got a rag and got around him, got him up, and I raised him. It was a squirrel, a little gray squirrel.
A squirrel?
A little squirrel. And he went everywhere I went. And Percy, I slept in a bunk bed, and I had an old field jacket that somebody gave me. I don't know what it was. And it was one of them old-timey ones. And I'd get up in the morning and put that on. I'd put my hands in my pocket. There he'd be. He slept in the pockets.
Oh, my. And did he go to school with you?
He went everywhere I went, yeah.
And he oh, wow.
I kept him for about 2 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And you couldn't have any pecans in the house. You couldn't have any peanuts in the house. Mama cook a pecan pie, he'd pick every one of the pecans off of it.
That is just funny.
And I can't remember where we were, the 10th or 11th grade. No, 10th grade, I believe it was. 9th, 10th, yeah, somewhere around there. The Elmo Gaskell had walked by the door, and Elmo had a big pair of black glasses on it, and Percy attacked him. He went after them glasses for some reason. I finally got him off of him. He was all right. I mean, he didn't scratch him up, but he was just jumping around.
Jumping.
I don't know where it startled him or where he saw himself, his image back in the glasses or what. I don't know. But no, everywhere I went, Percy went. He'd run all through the class because everybody started getting peanuts. We had that little concession stand at the school. And it was between the auditorium and the main body of the school. There was a little hole in the wall where you bought them little cups of ice cream with them little wooden spoons.
Oh, good stuff. Yes.
Pine State. And we'd do that, and he would, he was in there. Somebody he'd sell peanuts and stuff like that. And everybody took care of him. But when I got ready to leave, I'd put my hand in my pocket. There he'd be wadded right up in a little knot.
Bless that baby. Oh, that's funny. Okay, how about the lunchroom? What do you remember about the lunchroom?
A lot. Lunchroom was punishment. And I got in plenty of that because I was always pranking or doing something. So the deal was, I know what you want me to tell you. I will. But Jack Johnson used to make me go in there and wash dishes.
Oh.
I was bad, got kicked out of class or whatever, which I did many times. I would go in there and wash dishes. And there'd be a lot of times that somebody would come to the back door from the fish house. They'd have a mess of spots or sea mullets or something. And then women would fry them up, make light bread. Now, we eat good. Now, I'm going to tell you that.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes,
so
sir.
You were being punished, but eating
We eat
light
like
bread.
kings. Yeah, the shrimp, fried shrimp, we had, now they weren't bad either. That 30, 35 count shrimp, fried shrimp, and we'd eat scallops. I know there was a lot of filet of flounder went through that place.
Oh, my goodness.
Billy Smith or Clayton would come down there with a box laid up there.
And this was cooked for the whole school?
Whole
I mean,
school.
that was the school?
That was it. And toads.
Oh my goodness.
Ain't nothing wrong with blow toad if you cook right.
No, not if it's done right. That's right. All right, now I've got a list here, so anytime you think of
You
something,
just do what you got to do.
All right. How about basketball in the gym? What do you remember about that?
It was rough. It was rough. God almighty, was it rough. That was like a war zone because there was nobody that we didn't get along with Smyrna. That you knew that. I mean, and everybody don't understand that. Well, you're all down east. No. It wasn't like it is today where you got in the car and you go to Harkins Island or you go to Beaufort or you go back to Betty or Sea Level or somewhere. We didn't leave Atlantic.
Right.
Atlantic was Atlantic. When you went across Nelson's Creek Bridge, you were in Zone 1. And the same way to Cedar Island and Stacy. But we had a good team. We weren't very big. I think there was one guy, let's see, Joey Gilgo. He just died, a good friend of mine. I think he was about 6'5". Cooper was 6'6". And I was a little over 6'2". But I was probably the heaviest one, the biggest one on the basketball team. And they always used me to block and to knock people out. And I did good job of it. And we used to come to Smyrna and play. And that was like a war zone. We played against Linwood Parker and all that crowd.
Yeah.
And, Linwood and I talk about that every once in a while when we see each other. They said it was some of the roughest places. Like, well, what'd you expect? Mm-hmm. We played Beaufort one time in the old gym in the old building, and we won that ball game. But they were not going to give it to us because we were from Atlantic.
Right.
And I think that was, we could play basketball, we played baseball, and we did it all. But the biggest thrill to us was when there was always a game. Mr. Jordan was the coach, and there was always a game to Hatteras.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
I bet that was a big deal too.
That was an ordeal. So we would get on the old sea level. That was probably Thursday morning because you didn't know if you were going to make it one day or not. And we'd leave there and go Thursday and come play Friday and then hopefully come back Saturday.
Wow. Well, where would y'all spend the night?
Anybody's house.
Anywhere?
Ernie Foster. Ernie is a good friend of mine. I mean, we've been close ever since those days. That was in 63, 64, and 65. And we'd go over there. Sometimes they'd have a motel, but there weren't. Hatteras didn't look like it did today. There was one little old row of, I reckon they were fishing cottages. There wasn't much to it. And there would be, maybe 20 of us.
Wow.
Well, it'd take the JV team, it'd take the big team.
Right.
And both of us would play on both of them, so it didn't make no difference. But we go over there and we had a good time. We had a good time. I remember one time that we were, we got a ground at? We got a ground coming through the slough there to Hatteras, coming to the backside of Ocracoke. And it was late. We like not ever got to Ocracoke. So we got to Ocracoke. There was a storm a-coming. And the ferry wasn't going to run sea level. So what happened, they put us up in, what was that? Not the old Anchor Inn. What was the name of that darn place? I don't know. I don't know. Was the oldest motel on the island, Ocracoke.
Okay.
And the girls, the cheerleaders, and the chaperones, which we really didn't need, but we had them, they stayed at the motel, which that's the way it should have been. And us boys, we stayed anywhere. And I stayed with Jimmy Jackson over there. And we stayed over there 2 nights because it was so rough and so bad, we like not ever got back. And then when we got back, we got aground there to Wainwright's and had to go get the old man Clayton. I call him old man Clayton. I shouldn't do that. Captain Clayton. He called Fred Goodwin on the Linda Gale to come pull us off, and all he did was cuss about he had to quit working to go get us. But and she was the only boat that would pull that ferry off.
Wow.
So it was about a 4 or 5 day journey to get around. We didn't know anything about going around.
Right.
Because we'd have been lost if we'd have done that.
Yeah.
But it was
And that was to play basketball.
yeah, and we played over in Pamlico County a couple times. And they were good. Well, I had broke that hand, that finger. We went over there and they didn't want me to play because I had a cast on my hand. Well, they finally put me in, and I took 2 or 3 out that night. And about the last part of the ball game, I was told that I wasn't gonna play no more. But I done wounded 4 or 5 of them bad.
Yeah, because you had a weapon.
Oh yeah. Hey, that's the way it worked.
Okay. How about Miss Elsie?
Oh
Who was
my
that?
Lord, Miss Elsie was. You had the teachers. The teachers in Atlantic were teachers.
Meaning what?
They were professionals. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were talking about. There was no bull. It was
All business.
all business. Now they enjoyed a good laugh and they had a good time all with us, but they knew exactly. See, well, they knew us, and they knew just what we could do and what we couldn't do. And Miss Elsie was she taught chemistry, algebra, and she didn't teach physics. She taught algebra and chemistry, and there was something else she taught. I don't remember. I didn't take it. Anyway, I took both of her classes, and Miss Jessie was, the only thing she knew was English. And I despised that class worse than anything in this world. It was the 9th, 10th, and 11th wasn't too bad. But she was suckering you up to get you into this Macbeth.
Uh-huh.
And she could quote it word for word. And we had to read that mess. And I had been thrown out of her class so many times, it was pathetic. Why do I want to speak? Why for art thou? I mean, they don't talk like that to the fish house. She would get so mad at me. She said, "Why don't you just go to the principal's office?" I said, "No, I'm going home, go to work." And I would. But
oh my goodness.
she could, I hated that stuff worse than that. I don't know. But I weren't the only one.
Oh, me. Well, I'm an English teacher, so I know it's either love it or hate it. There's very little in between.
No, it's just that. But that was her main thing. That I knew that was coming that senior year. That Macbeth, and boy, I despised it.
That's so funny. Okay, you were in the last class, right? And so after your class, students went East Carteret. That's right?
Worst
Okay.
mistake ever happened.
And why? Why do you think so?
Why? it destroyed the individualism of the communities. The heart and soul was at school. I mean, you know, what else? I mean, at school and the church is and work.
Yeah.
You had to, you were going to be in Atlantic, you're going to be Harkers Island, you're going to be sea level, you're going to be bed. Well, I don't care. You're going to be in those three items. And your mama and daddy would go to the PTA meetings. Right. Wasn't no bull. You knew what was coming. But Down East was not ready to be part of Beaufort or anything else that came along with it.
Right.
And it just the heart and soul of the community was gone.
So you saw the change happen.
It makes me kind of feel bad in a way when there was Darrell Glenn Willis and I were there talking one day up there to Billy's about the rooster and stuff, you know, the mess we used to do to the clam house and stuff. And there was one of them young boys come up there, he said, I wish I had a grown up when you did in the Down East that you knew. I said, son, it's black and white.
Yeah, it's so different. So
and
different.
I don't like it.
Well, that's, you know, Mom and Daddy. They used to talk about the rooster. You know, they tell me the stories. And the Harkers Island I knew is so different than what they knew.
Oh, yeah.
And the Harkers Island that my kids know.
They don't know.
Is not at all.
They know it by name.
Right. It's so different. Yeah. Well, I could talk to you for
ahead.
Hours. But I'm throwing you this one last ball in your court here. When you look back at your time at Atlantic and that education, that experience, if you will, how do you describe it? How do you explain that to today's youth? What do you say?
Well, I failed myself because I didn't take advantage of what was in front of me. I had a good time, and there were things that I was interested in, and the rest of it I didn't care about. Like English, physics, calculus, chemistry. Oh yeah, let's go. I could care less about that English or anything else. But now, boy, I could talk a week on that. There's some of the kids help out here at the museum, and some of the kids that I know, you can present a problem to them, they have no clue. They don't even know. And you say, well, what do you do in school? Say it's all online. I said, okie dokie. Well, you're going to be online directly because you don't know nothing. You've got to go to that box to do anything. You can't add, you can't subtract, you can't multiply. Some can, some can't. But the majority can't do anything without that computer. And if you've ever worked in a boathouse, which I did, I worked with Henry Fulcher, and I was Henry Fulcher, and I was going to think his name. He lived right there next to us. But anyway, Alvin Harris. And I learned more math from them two uneducated people. And Winston Hill, I worked at Winston Hill's store at night. And I saw the way he did things. And I'm one that grasps things and I don't forget it, and I can go on with it. But there was a lot of things that I should have done that I didn't. And no, I failed myself in high school, and I regret that. But it was the kids today, they've got more advantages than what we have. But how often do you see them go to study hall? And then there'd be one in there with physics that could do it, and the other one come in there, sit down, show me this, and you do it on a piece of paper. That's gone.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Well, I definitely they have more advantages as far as technology, but
Well, what good is that?
they need more than that. That's right. That's right.
I love technology. I think it's overrated.
Yeah. You need to be able to function without it, don't you? Yeah.
You better believe it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you spending time with us and sharing that part of your life with us. And you know how the deal is. There's chances that you'll be back and see us sometime and talking about something else.
Yeah, whenever you want to talk about music or anything.
Well, when you mentioned those Huckleberry Mudflaps, right?
I was the original member.
I didn't know that about you. So I've written it down here. So you're going to come
Clinton,
back.
Morris, and Donnie, and Jimmy Guthrie, and myself.
Okay. That sounds like one episode right there.
Oh, my God.
That'll be a fun reunion. All right. It's a date. Well, thank you very much.
Well,
What a fun walk down memory lane with Mr. Jimmy Amspacher. Without a doubt, Jimmy is grateful for his education at Atlantic High School, the memories he made, and the maturation he experienced. Oh, how I wish I had met Percy. Join me next week when I am privileged to speak with Mr. Tom Styron. He will take us back to his school days at Smyrna School, where he attended throughout his youth. Until then, stay safe and be kind.